Hi, Timo. How are you?
Great, thanks.
Excellent. We are glad to have you with us today in this SAP Chats podcast episode. Timo Elliott, you are VP Global Innovation Advocate for SAP. And looks like you love your job. So people are asking you how to do the same. So you have written a blog on how to become a tech evangelist.
That's
Could
right.
you? Yeah. So could you define what is a tech evangelist in 2024?
Sure. My job for SAP at least involves working with customers on the leading edge of innovation, gathering the lessons learned, and then sharing that with as many people as possible so that we can all be more successful. So more concretely, I do a lot of presentations to audiences around the world, and I spend my time with SAP and external experts trying to understand what is the next thing that we can help our customers, prospects, and partners understand.
Interesting. Timo, I would say that you are present everywhere in the social media every day, providing valuable content. And looks like last week, Elon Musk tweeted one of your cartoons. What was your first reaction?
Yes, a shock. I haven't actually been using Twitter myself recently, but yes, I went to see, and apparently now the cartoon has been seen. I just went to check by 49.7 million people have seen my cartoon about statistics. So yes, this is probably the closest I will get to internet fame.
That's crazy. Can you tell us more about this cartoons websites?
Sure. So I've been making cartoons pretty much for my own amusement for the last 20 years or so, mostly about data and analytics and innovation, and more recently about artificial intelligence. You can find them all on my personal website, so timoelliott.com, 2 L's and 2 T's. And they're available for free. If you want to use them in your presentations or courses, just drop me a line, let me know what you're doing. It's fascinating to see how many people are using them. And so my other claim to fame is if you don't want to go to my website, you can just type in AI cartoons or analytics cartoons. And last time I looked, the first 2 or 3 images might well be from my site.
Interesting. I'm sure our audience would like to discover it. Thanks for
Yes,
that.
please, if you're out there, let me know which ones you liked and which ones you hated.
Before we deep dive into the business and technical topics, I suggest we run through a short quiz. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. There is one rule.
What happens when I get the answers wrong?
So the rule is that you're going to answer in one word, no elaboration, no explanations.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Sure. So first one, will robots replace humans?
No.
Do you use ChatGPT to send emails?
No. Just I want to use more than one word. Anyway, no nuance, but no, I would never do that.
Okay. Will no code replace programming?
Mostly no.
Okay, no problem. It's an expression. All right. 2 more. Is AI or can AI become better than teachers?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. And the
I can
last
give you a
one.
real world example if you're interested.
Give it. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I hope I don't get my my daughter into trouble, but she's in school here in France. I'm actually French, despite my name, despite my accent, and she is completely bilingual, but she still has to do English courses. But she showed us the corrected translation that the teacher was giving, and unfortunately, it was not very good. And I actually took the text and put it into ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to provide suggestions on how to correct the English. It did a great job. So quite honestly, if I were one of the other pupils in that class, I really think they could have got more value spending that hour with ChatGPT rather than with that teacher, unfortunately.
That's reality. Yeah. Last one. Are you excited or afraid from AI?
Oh, excited, of course.
Excited.
I have to say that because that way, when our robot overlords take over, I just let the record show that I was excited about them taking over from us.
So yeah, speaking about excitements, I remember that you have tried the Apple Vision Pro recently at it was SAP France office, right?
That's right. We had a special shipment because they weren't available in France. I'm not sure if they are even yet, but we have a very good relationship with Apple, and so we were able to get some devices because we're already working. We've already provided right in the initial launch. There were a couple of SAP products that are already available as apps for the Apple Vision Pro, so we got a chance to try it out, and I have to say, it really is. It's clear that it's a breakthrough in technology. But it's also clear that there's a lot that's going to improve in the future. I'm sure that will happen, and I'm sure there'll also be improvements to, the intelligent glasses that you can now get from other vendors that are like regular glasses, but with an upfront display. All of that to say, I think it's a breakthrough point because for me, it's now clear that spatial computing, as they call it, it's really just a question of when and how we're going to use it in workplaces, not if. I think it's clear that as a proof of concept, it's clear that there's some reality there. It's going to take a while for us to really adopt it as part of work. I think it's going to start, like most technologies, with entertainment. Apparently, the 3D videos, if you're taking memories, taking film of your kids, and now you can pretty much be there when you want to rewatch that video. So that does sound like a great personal use. I think it might take a little bit longer to get use for business people outside of niche areas, but there's definitely some reality there.
Interesting. You've been lucky because I think a Vision Pro is always on stock shortage. So you are one of the few ones who tried it. Great. Thanks for sharing your feedback. The AI now, I think the AI, if we take the AI supply chain, I think it's something more complicated than we can think. It's not only the software like ChatGPT, Claude, Midjourney, or whatever. There are also the models. There is some hosting for these models. There are some chips that need to be manufactured. And this is where NVIDIA and some companies, similar companies, come into the picture. We've all heard and seen the recent CEO keynote of NVIDIA. And also we've heard and we've seen the announcements regarding the SAP and NVIDIA partnership. What are your thoughts on the recent SAP and NVIDIA partnership?
Well, let me take your phrase there about the whole supply chain. I was actually lucky enough to meet representatives from ASMR. They're the Dutch company that makes the machines that are used to make the latest generation of chips that are then used by, say, TSMC in Taiwan to create technology that then is used by NVIDIA to create their latest generation of chips. And then, of course, those chips are available with all of our large strategic partners like Microsoft, who's also running ChatGPT models. Google is running Gemini models. Apple has been a little bit more quiet about their AI plans, but the big rumor is that they will be announcing a huge breakthrough in AI as part of Siri later this year. So all of those companies are in the headlines when it comes to AI right now, but you'll never guess who they all turn to for their core business applications. I'm sure the audience can't possibly guess 3 letters starting with S. But just to illustrate the behind the scenes, SAP is working very closely with our partners as a part of that bigger supply chain. So specifically, you mentioned NVIDIA. We had a recent announcement. We'll be using NVIDIA's generative AI Foundry service to fine-tune large language models for all of the different scenarios that we find for using artificial intelligence embedded on all of the different business processes that we support.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Let's now discuss about some AI concepts, because we want the audience to become really familiar with, I would say, the most trending topics. Let's start from the basics. So what's the difference between AGI, artificial general intelligence, and generative AI, or Gen AI, how we call it?
All right, so let's go through the terms quickly. First, artificial intelligence, term that's over 70 years old, 1950s. It's not a technology. It's a socio-technical term that we use anytime a computer can now do things that only humans could do before. So it's a moving target. We keep changing the definition of it as humans, computers get better at things. Then the next big generation of artificial intelligence was machine learning. Now, we've been using that for a long time, but it got better and better over the last 10 years as cloud computing improved, more data, neural network approaches. That is, though, already embedded in many different SAP applications, learning recommendations in SAP SuccessFactors, recognizing the fields on expense reports in Concur. We use Concur Verify to run a whole bunch of machine learning models to check for fraud and things like that. So it's basically pattern recognition. Then this latest generation that everybody has got excited about is generative AI. That is a bit more like a machine where you have a big funnel at the top. You pour in lots of examples of something, and then you can create new instances of that thing. So it could be text, right? Pour in lots of text and you can have a poem come out. It could be images, right? You pour in a lot of images, you put in text, it'll give you a beautiful image based on those words. That opens up a whole new host of areas where we can use these AI technologies for business purposes, for business AI. Now, when it comes to artificial general intelligence, that's the one where there's a lot of debate whether that will ever be possible. There's a lot of debate about what it really means, but basically is when do we consider that the technology is so advanced that we have created a new form of life at one level? Turing, of course, famously proposed a test a long time ago saying, well, you just dialogue with it, and if you can't tell if it's a human or a machine, it's passed the test. There's a lot of disagreement because the AI algorithms can now pass that test pretty reliably. The ChatGPT, Opus 3 from Claude, and so on, those tier 1 AI models can now pass that test with many people. So we've moved the bar. Will it ever reach there? Honestly, I don't know. And for the purposes of this conversation, we probably don't care too much. Are they going to be incredibly useful for what we're trying to do, which is do business better? Absolutely. So we should probably just talk more about that.
Yeah, interesting. Now let's go one step deeper. LLM, large language models. Does SAP has its own? Many people ask me this question. I don't have the answer, so I'm now asking you live.
We do not have our own large language model. So SAP leaders have announced fairly clearly that we have no intention of creating our own large language model. Frankly, they cost millions or billions to create the best generation. And there's lots of really good ones out there from our partners or even open source. Our job is more to figure out how to help you, our customers, our partners, apply those large language models to business. Now, we have, as part of SAP Business Technology platform, SAP BTP, we have what's called the Generative AI Hub. So that provides all the functionality you need to enable generative AI as part of robust business processes. So that's the platform that we're using to add generative AI to all of our products. And of course, it's available to our customers and partners who can use it to build their own custom AI workflows. And that provides a variety of different models. So it could be ChatGPT, of course, various flavors of it. We're working to give access to Claude. We're an investor in the company Anthropic. And there are open source models that are also very capable and much cheaper to run, such as Llama, Mistral AI, and Cohere. So the idea is that we provide the engine with the ability to swap out the best model for the best opportunity as and when it's needed. Now, there is a little asterisk that I need to mention, that most business data is not in the form of text. It's in the form of either columns or entity relationships. So we are doing research into whether and how it's possible to adapt generative AI, the transformers in GPT, to apply that to business data. So, but that's currently undergoing research project, but the goal is to look into creating an SAP foundation model that would help the entire SAP ecosystem get the most value out of SAP data.
And this will lead me to mention the following. The best AI for your business will come from the folks who provide you with your core business applications. Who said that?
I suspect I said that.
So can you elaborate more about this generative AI with context?
Sure. So, first, let's start with the basics. The most important factor in artificial intelligence is the data. And when it comes, I really don't think there's any doubt that the best business data in the world is stored in SAP systems. We've been leading vendor of business applications with the largest install base for many, many years. So the sheer quantity of business data in SAP systems dwarfs where else you could find it. So, of course, just having the data is not the same thing as being able to apply it. So our job is to help you do that, and we are using techniques such as RAG. So this is retrieval augmented generation. Throw some more technology terms in there. It's at one level, it's pretty basic. It's straightforward. It's you take a set of information up front from your business systems or for external sources, and then you provide that, you ground, it's called a grounding of the generative AI model so that it gives you the best, most relevant answer with the least amount of errors and hallucinations. So behind that high-level statement, there's a lot of technical detail that we probably shouldn't go into right now. But all that to say is to get the most out of artificial intelligence with this kind of approach, it works best if you have a discrete business decision, business action to be made as part of a business process. So you have the context of that decision, and then you can act on it. You could do something. So all of that means that AI works best when it's part of an overall business process. And our job, therefore, is to help you with business AI that is relevant, reliable, and responsible. So relevant, it's part of a business process. You're using just the right data to make that decision. Reliable, the data quality, and we've been building mission critical systems for a long, long time. We know how to take great AI ideas and actually make them productive in real world environments. And the vast majority of data science projects don't go into production, according to the analysts. They work great in like when you're playing it around and just doing a proof of concept, but when you try and do it in the real world, there's lots of other factors like compliance and privacy and scalability and so on that you have to take account of. We're really good at that. And the final point is probably the most important, although it's often ignored, is the responsibility. Artificial intelligence algorithms are psychopaths. In other words, they're very powerful, but they have absolutely no notion of right and wrong. So they always have to be put under the control of human beings. We always have to be very wary of what could possibly go wrong in terms of bias and other issues. We have a very robust process at SAP to make sure that as we're deploying artificial intelligence in any aspect of our business, we're doing so in a responsible way, and that in turn, our customers are not running the kinds of reputational legal risks that unfortunately you see a lot of headlines right now where people have been deploying this artificial intelligence without necessarily thinking through all of the consequences. So, for example, we have a whole board of external ethics experts. I was just reading a book this weekend by Professor Susan Liotto, who is one of the professors at Stanford on this very topic. She is part of the group of people that determines whether we can or not deploy this software. Just to give you an example, the EU came out with a whole bunch of guidelines on how to do AI right. We were very comfortable with all those because that's all topics that we had already spent a lot of time thinking about.
Great, great. And I think, yeah, I've heard many people speaking about the ethical AI. So I think now it's a branch of AI. You can't do AI without, doing or checking the ethical part of it. That's
and I do want to mention, I talk about this a lot to audiences, and let's face it, most of us are technical people with technical backgrounds. We didn't do humanities. We didn't do philosophy. It may be hard for us to see, well, yeah, ethics, yeah, that's somebody else's job. But when it comes to AI, it really isn't. It's unfortunately very easy to implement an algorithm without thinking through the consequences. So again, I really urge everybody in the audience to be aware that you personally do have to think about this, if only to make sure that somebody else is thinking about this from your company's point of view, because otherwise you are running risks.
Great, great. So SAP Joule.
Yes.
The AI copilot that understands your business. How does it look like today?
So I think Joule, first of all, really is one of the biggest and most visible opportunities for AI within the SAP ecosystem. So it's the new intelligent chatbot interface. It provides a single entry point to functionality across all of the SAP suite of products and applications. So just one window that could give you access to S/4HANA, but also the same window, just 2 lines down, can take you to SuccessFactors or Concur or Ariba. So it really is going to simplify from that point of view. But above all, it really is going to transform the user experience. So this is sort of AI for awesome interactions. As you probably know, anybody on this call, SAP has not always had a reputation for the easiest to use interfaces. Now, much of that is a legacy from many decades ago, and the latest interfaces with Fiori are a delight to use. But AI can certainly make this a lot easier. So with Joule, you'll be able to carry out a whole series of common activities to do with your SAP system. So it could be navigation. A lot of people can never remember, oh, how do I do that in Ariba? You can say, how do I find a product? And it will take you to the right part of the SAP interface to go and do what you want to do. Or it could be transactional. I would like to open a new headcount. Right? Rather than taking you to the interface, maybe it can just do it for you directly in the chatbot window. It could be informational. It's like, oh, can you remind me again how much I can expense for dinner in France? And it'll say 35 euros. Right? So any kind of policy information. Or it could be analytics. So we already have what's Just Ask technology as part of SAP Analytics Cloud. So you can ask questions in natural language. Can you show me the sales of our products for the last 3 months? And it can either take you to SAP Analytics Cloud, or you could just see the initial chart and then click to get more detail. So it really is, and I think this is important because all of our customers have invested large amounts of time and effort into their SAP systems. Joule, I see as this wonderful way of really unleashing more of that value, making it much easier to use the SAP system, making it more efficient, and being more of a delight to use. So I really think that's going to be a huge positive. Now, in terms of like what you can do today, there's a roadmap that will be going for the next period. It's already available in SuccessFactors. I think Ariba and something else is coming on in Q1. So it's a phased approach, but in the longer term, this will be the standard way of starting your use of SAP.
Well, it looks like a dream that comes reality for some old users or the users of the old versions of SAP, from, let's say, SAP R3, ECC to Joule. So it's just crazy.
Right. I mean, so one thing I think is worth it, there's going to be the right interface for the right type of users. Because I know personally, meeting people, there are people who really like the SAP GUI because it allows, they know how to use it, they know the codes, and they can be very efficient, right? And they wouldn't want to have to go and type things into a chatbot, right? You could just go straight to what they need to do. So it's really about providing the right interface to the right people at the right time.
Excellent. To conclude, I'm gonna ask you something. I work a lot with SAP partners, so I'm working at the partner ecosystem success. So we help partners in the adoption of our latest innovations. With some partners, when we are discussing about AI, some folks tell me, listen, it's too early for us. It's too early for AI. Our market is not mature enough, etc. So you, as an evangelist, what would you say to these folks, who are still hesitating to embark into the AI journey?
Okay, so first, I'd say that your customers look to you for information about where they're going to go in the future. So I think you really should look into what's available with SAP and AI right now. Even if you're not going to deploy it, you don't think in the near future, you really should get up to speed. Go to sap.com/AI for the latest and greatest public information and resources, and of course the partner portal. And I have to say, it's a very fast-moving area, so it is worth checking back to get the latest information and checking out the roadmaps. Second, we already have lots of great AI functionality that you can sell and help implement at your customers today. For example, I just did a series of webinars called Getting Down to Business with AI. It's on the homepage of sap.com/AI, if you scroll down a bit. And it was a series of webinars with experts from Concur, SuccessFactors, S4HANA, and others to explain exactly what you can already do with AI and how to turn it on. So they're really like practically oriented. So please check that out in your area of expertise. You might well find that there are things that you hadn't quite realized were that easy to put into place. Third, when it comes to generative AI in particular, one of the best things about it is you can try it as an individual. So, you can sign up for, and I would recommend going beyond the free versions of like ChatGPT. That's the 3.5 version. That's real. There's a huge gap between 3.5 and 4. So either sign up for ChatGPT Pro, or you can actually access it using Bing in creative mode, or you can get it through Microsoft Copilot, or there are alternatives like Gemini Pro or Claude 3, although some of those are not available in all regions. These technologies are different from the technology you used before. It's really hard to explain. It's like trying to explain swimming to somebody who's never been in water. The best thing to do is really take the plunge, and you'll understand better what is and isn't possible in this next generation. And finally, of course, don't hesitate to go to timoelliott.com and download cartoons to put in your presentations to customers. Just like Elon Musk.
Yeah. So great. So thanks a lot, Timo, for the advice. Thanks for sharing with us the insights and also your experience with the AI, the tools, and so on. So we are really happy, really glad to have you with us today. And I'm sure our audience is gonna love this episode. Thanks a lot.
Huge pleasure. Best of luck with your projects out there.